Alright folks, just want to make another video, just making some observation, looking at someone else's logs that they have posted up. Apparently this gentleman is pretty new to ECMLink. The car is mostly stock. I believe it has a stock injectors with a Walbro 255 pump and aftermarket fuel pressure regulator. To my knowledge, I believe this gentleman had purchased ECMLink from another individual, so I don't know what adjustments, if any, were made by the individual who posted this log, or if they were made by someone else. I'm not sure. I'm just going over and looking over some of the things that I'm noticing here, and he's complaining of I guess the throttle being pretty much on or off, and very jerky as far as that's concerned. So just going to point out some of the things that I'm seeing here, just so that some of you individuals that might be watching the video kind of have an idea of things to be looking out for as usual. First and foremost, I see no wideband being logged. I did go ahead and look over some of this as far as the ECU inputs. We have no wideband being logged here. So that's the first thing I would suggest, is getting a good wideband being logged. So we have no wideband factor being logged as far as that's concerned. Ignore some of these down below. This is for speed density parameters that we may not really need to be looking at. We can ignore the VE and the IAT sensor here. That's all speed density. Could be logging battery voltage here as far as that's concerned. So that's something that may need to be added later. Basically, the battery and the wideband are my main suggestions. As wideband factor, and battery, those are my main suggestions as far as parameters that need to be logged. The other thing I will notice is that, just kind of going across here, come down here to our fuel trims, they're extremely rich. Don't even need a wideband to see that they're rich if we're using a stock O2 sensor. Negative trims, or especially as low as these are, indicating a rich condition. So we really need to lean the fuel out as far as that's concerned. Moving over to airflow per rev, that's low as well. We could probably raise the sliders in the MAF comp slider section as far as that's concerned. As far as our front O2 sensor voltage, don't have a lot of fluctuation in here, but that could be because we're running extremely rich. Once we lean that out, you'll start getting some fluctuation again. You can either have very little fluctuation from either too rich of a condition or too lean. So if you're experiencing that, you need to be looking at your trims and see where you're at as far as that's concerned. Luckily, he's at least in closed loop, so that helps give us some direction as far as which direction we need to go. If it was an open loop, we'd really have no idea, other than maybe inspecting plugs to see how rich or lean we might possibly be. ISC position, got it down to 0, so I'm just assuming that the bisque screw is possibly backed out too far. And I did notice earlier his idle RPMs are right around close to 1,000. And when we look at our RPM tab in ECMLink, he's targeting 750, but he's idling high. So it's telling me he's got his bisque screw backed out too much. So be it that he doesn't have any boost leaks or anything that that I can't account for as far as that's concerned, because I'm not there at the car. I can't tell if he's got any boost leaks. But granted, if everything is checking out okay, probably just needs to turn the bisque screw in a little bit to get this parameter back up to around 30, which is where we need it. Of course, if we back it out too far, it makes this number go down. Screwing it in makes this number go up. We want to basically get this number right around the 30-ish mark, as close to that as possible. It doesn't have to be dead on, but as close as we can get that as possible to get our desired RPM range as far as that's concerned. Aside from that, let's see. I haven't looked at the idle switch to see if that's functioning yet. Well, okay, so coming over, we are seeing it fluctuating up and down, so we can verify that the idle switch is working correctly. However, looking at our TPS volts, it is pretty low, so we may need to make an adjustment here. 0.29 should be around 0.63, so we're going to have to make an adjustment there as far as that's concerned. So is using a first gen 1G mass airflow sensor. Looking at the MAF raw, that is telling me that's outputting about where it should be as far as that's concerned. Going over to our ECU config tabs, just looking over some of these. Again, he's already made a TPS adjustment, but need to work on that. We're going to move on down. Fuel sliders here. We've got dead time 980, and I believe he's on stock injectors. that would explain why we've got such a rich mixture as far as our combined fuel trims as far as that's concerned, or fuel trims all around, why we're running so rich, especially with stock injectors. Keeping in mind that, remember, dead time, that's basically going to control our fuel at idle, and then we can do our global fuel for a wide open throttle as far as that's concerned. And being that idle, our dead time is at 980. It's definitely running rich there, so I'd bring that down possibly around 0, being that we're using stock injectors. Bump it up a little bit if need be, or subtract whatever, basically whatever the car is needing. Again, first, getting a wideband so we can get a good indication of what we're needing. Moving on down to the timing sliders, those aren't being used. MAF comp sliders, they're all zeroed out. So if we could move up these two sliders, the 0 and 50, move those up a little bit, like so, they'd probably bump up our airflow per rev reading that was low. Remember here we were 0.18, we want about a 0.23, 0.24, maybe 0.25, somewhere in that range. Of course, by doing so, it adds fuel. So, that again, that's where we want to be removing that dead time to pull that fuel back out, because moving this up, although while it adds to our airflow per rev, it also adds fuel. So we definitely need to be pulling dead time back out, especially with that 980 that we previously had. Everything else here looks okay, other than just needing to make some adjustments to the MAF comp sliders. MAF clamp, that's all stock. Speed density is irrelevant, we're not using it. Aux maps, not using this one either, but I can tell that he probably needs a good software and firmware update as far as that's concerned. Idle air, we're not using that. I don't know if he's blowing off the atmosphere. If he is, with his blow off valve, may need to enable this one and then make adjustments here accordingly. Narrowband O2 simulation, that's irrelevant because we have no wideband at this point. ALS and NOx sensor control, these are good values probably to start with. I'd probably leave this tab alone. Fuel pressure solenoid activation, stock. EGR, stock, dash, I'd probably leave these alone for the most part. May bump the NOC CEL down to 1, maybe so you get that warning there. We're tuning for no more than 1 degree of NOC if possible. Miscellaneous, I don't know why we have enable hot start enrichment. I'd probably uncheck this one. DTCs, this one's okay. And then the ECU inputs, which we'd covered previously, all of these are stock. Nothing's been changed here. So going over to direct access, injector battery adjust. This one's been adjusted. I don't know why. Very minute adjustments been made. Looking at stock values over here to the right, and what we have here as far as the adjusted values. In the 7-volt range, we bumped it up, by a value of 3. The 9 volt range, value of 3 again. 12 volt is stock. 14 we actually moved it down 3. 16 we moved it up 3, and 19 we bumped it down 6. So if these are stock injectors, I don't know why we're even touching this area right here. Stock injectors, probably need to set this back to stock settings. Not even going to be noticing much of a difference with these values being adjusted so little anyway. So again, I'm not sure any idea why these values were adjusted. I would probably recommend leaning these tables out as far as the octane rating, but if you're new to ECMLink, you'd probably just leave it alone for now until you start getting more familiar with it. And again, the timing tables, the max and minimum, why the adjustments here have been made. This is the stock values, and these are the adjusted values. Why these have been made, I'm not sure. Other than maybe doing some wide open throttle tuning, maybe seeing some knock and trying to remove from these areas where knock is being seen. The only problem that I really see here is that we have more of a higher value of timing here, and it drops down real low and then bumps back up real high. So if he gets into this range, if that's the case, we're going to be bumping a lot of timing in all of a sudden pretty aggressively as far as that's concerned. But and then the minimum octane, we've got 4 cells that are being highlighted here that have been changed. So why just those 4 particular cells, I really don't know. I'd probably change all of these back to stock for now until you start getting a handle on this, except for maybe the octane ratings as far as the fuel that you're trying to target. Unless, again, you're not real familiar with it, trying to get the hang of it, you'd probably be okay just to change everything in the direct access table back to stock for now. I mean, it's pretty much stock setup anyway. But anyway, just making those observations. Just want to throw those out there for anyone who's trying to learn a little bit, see what to look for as far as that's concerned. But anyway, if you have questions, keep them coming. That's it for now. Y'all have a good one.